The alarm rang at 5 in the morning. William opened his eyes slowly, feeling the weight of the day ahead. Today was not just any day. It was the day his father would become king. He looked to his side where Kate was already awake, staring at the ceiling. Neither spoke. The room felt heavy with things they could not say. "Are you ready?" Kate finally asked, her voice soft in the quiet room. William nodded but did not speak. How could he explain the mix of feelings inside him? Joy for his father, sadness for his grandmother, and a deep ache for the brother who should be here but was not. Outside their window, London was coming alive. Streets were being closed. Flags were being hung. People were already finding spots along the route, eager to see the new king and his family. The whole world would be watching today. William got up and walked to the window. From here, he could see part of the palace where he grew up. So many memories lived in those walls. Happy ones with his mother, playful ones with Harry. Now Diana was gone forever, and Harry might as well be too. Kate came up behind him and placed a hand on his shoulder. She did not need words to understand what he was feeling. After 12 years of marriage, she knew his heart better than anyone. "George is very excited," she said, trying to bring some lightness to the morning. Their oldest son had been practicing his role for weeks. He was old enough now to understand the importance of royal duty. William smiled a little. His children were the best part of his life. They made all the hard parts of being royal worth it. Charlotte too, he added, though Louis might find it hard to sit still for so long. They shared a small laugh, a brief break from the heaviness. Then it was time to get ready. Royal staff moved in and out of their rooms. Hair was done. Makeup was applied. Special clothes were put on. Kate wore a beautiful outfit with a small crown of flowers. William wore his military uniform with all its medals and honors. As a helper pinned something to his chest, William thought about his mother. Diana should be here today. She should see her husband become king, her son become the next in line. The helper noticed a tear in William's eye, but said nothing. Royal staff knew when to look away. Kate watched her husband from across the room. She knew he was thinking of Diana. She also knew he was thinking of Harry. The two brothers who were once so close were now living separate lives. The family was broken in a way that could not be fixed with fancy clothes and big events. "Your Royal Highness, the cars will be ready in 20 minutes, said an aide from the doorway. William nodded and turned to look at himself one last time in the mirror. The man looking back at him was not just a husband and father anymore. Today he would become the Prince of Wales, the next in line to the throne. The path ahead was clearer than ever before. Kate came to stand beside him. In the mirror, they looked perfect, the ideal royal couple. No one would guess the pain they carried. "We will get through this day," she said firmly. "Together, like we always do." William took her hand and squeezed it. "Together," he agreed. They heard their children in the hallway, their excited voices bringing life to the solemn morning. It was time to put on their public faces. Time to be what the people needed them to be. The private tears would have to wait. William took a deep breath and straightened his shoulders. Kate fixed her smile in place. Hand in hand, they walked out to meet their children and faced the historic day. The royal cars waited outside in a neat line. Their black paint shined in the morning sun. Guards stood tall beside each door. William held Louis in his arms while Kate fixed Charlotte's dress one last time. George stood straight, trying to look grown up and royal. "Remember," William said to his children, "today is very important for Grandpa. We must all be on our best behavior." The children nodded. Even little Louis seemed to understand the serious mood. When they stepped outside, cameras flashed from every direction. William kept his face calm, the way he had learned since he was a boy. Kate smiled her perfect smile. No one could see how her heart beat fast or how her hands shook slightly. Inside the first car, William helped the children with their seat belts. Kate sat next to him, their shoulders touching. The car began to move. Outside, crowds lined the streets. waving flags and cheering. "Look at all the people," Charlotte said, her face pressed to the window. William tried to see the day through his daughter's eyes. For her, this was exciting and wonderful. He wished he could feel the same. Instead, he felt the empty space where Harry should be sitting. He thought of how they used to joke during long royal drives, making these formal days bearable. Kate noticed the sad look in his eyes. She reached for his hand between them where no one could see. Her touch brought him back to the present. The car moved slowly through London. Every street was packed with people hoping to be part of history. Some held signs welcoming the new king. Others had pictures of Queen Elizabeth, showing their love for the grandmother William still missed every day. "Wave to the people," Kate reminded the children gently. They waved their small hands, and the crowds cheered louder. William waved too, his mind spinning with memories. He remembered riding in cars like this with his mother. Diana had always made sure he and Harry knew that the cheering people were the heart of their country. As they got closer to Westminster Abbey, William spotted some flowers tied to a fence. They reminded him of the mountains of flowers left after his mother died. His throat felt tight. "Are you all right?" Kate whispered. "Just memories," he answered quietly. The Abbey came into view, its tall towers reaching to the sky. The building had stood for nearly 1,000 years. Kings and queens had been crowned there for centuries. Now it was his father's turn. The car stopped. Outside, more cameras waited. More eyes watched. William took a deep breath before the door opened. "Time to be royal," he said softly to Kate. She nodded, understanding everything he did not say. They stepped out into the bright day. George, Charlotte, and Louis followed, their faces serious now. The Abbey doors stood open. Inside waited centuries of history and tradition. William looked up at the building where he had said goodbye to his mother, where he had married Kate, where his father would now be crowned king. So much of his life had happened under these stone arches. A church bell rang out, deep and solemn. William felt the sound in his chest. It marked the end of one time and the beginning of another. As they walked toward the entrance, William saw some of his father's friends arriving. He saw world leaders and important guests. But he did not see his brother. The pain of that absence hit him hard. Kate noticed his step falter. She moved closer, her arm brushing his. Her presence steadied him as it always did. Together, the family walked through the Abbey doors. Inside, the sounds of the crowd faded. The cool air smelled of history and candle wax. Ahead of them lay the long aisle where so many royals had walked before. William straightened his back and lifted his chin. Whatever he felt inside would stay hidden. Today was not about him or his pain. Today was about duty, about country, about the crown that would one day rest on his own head. Inside Westminster Abbey, the air felt cool and still. Gentle music played as guests found their seats. William and Kate followed a helper down the long aisle. Their children walked behind them, small steps careful on the ancient floor. Hundreds of eyes watched them pass. William kept his face calm, but his mind raced with memories. He had walked this same path on his wedding day, full of hope and joy. He had walked it at his grandmother's funeral, heavy with grief. Now he walked it again, feeling somewhere in between. Their seats were in the front row. As they sat down, William could see the throne where his father would soon sit. The crown waited nearby, heavy with gold and jewels and history. One day, that crown would be his own burden to bear. Kate settled the children, speaking softly to them about what would happen next. She was good at making big royal events feel less scary for them. William watched her with thankfulness in his heart. Without her, days like today would be much harder. People kept arriving. Kings and queens from other countries, famous faces from around the world, important leaders in fancy clothes. The Abbey filled with talk and movement. But there was one face William could not find no matter where he looked. "He is not coming," Kate whispered, knowing who William was searching for. "Try not to think about it today." William nodded, but the empty space where Harry should be felt bigger than the whole Abbey. The brothers who had once been so close were now separated by an ocean of hurt feelings and angry words. On such an important day, family should be together. But his family had broken in ways he did not know how to fix. The music changed. Everyone stood up. King Charles entered wearing special robes, walking slowly and carefully. Queen Camilla followed behind him. William watched his father's face and saw both pride and sadness there. Charles, too, was missing people today. His mother, Queen Elizabeth, and perhaps even Diana, despite all that had happened between them. The ceremony began with prayers and singing. William tried to focus on the words, on the meaning of this ancient tradition, but his mind kept drifting to the past, to days when he and Harry would sit together at events like this, making each other laugh when no one was looking, to times when his mother would wink at them from across a room, sharing a secret moment in the middle of royal duty. "Daddy, look," Louis whispered, pointing at the golden crown. The little boy's face showed wonder at the shiny treasure. William smiled at his son, brought back to the present. He had lost much in his life, but he had gained much too. His children were the future. They were what mattered most. The Archbishop spoke about duty and service, about the heavy weight of the crown and the lifetime of work it represented. William felt every word deep in his heart. This was not just his father's future being described. It was his own. When the crown was finally placed on Charles' head, a strange feeling washed over William. His father was king. He himself was now one step closer to the throne. The path of his life stretched before him, already decided, already planned. Kate reached for his hand. She held it tight, hidden between their bodies where cameras could not see. In that small touch was everything he needed: understanding, support, love. The abbey filled with music and voices calling "God save the King." William joined in, his voice strong and clear. But inside, silent questions lived in his heart. Questions about family and forgiveness, about traditions that could not be changed and relationships that might never heal. As Charles turned to face the crowd, now officially the king, William caught his father's eye. They shared a look that held years of understanding. Both men knew about loss. Both knew about duty. Both carried private pain beneath public crowns. After the crown was placed on King Charles' head, the ceremony continued with more prayers and singing. William stood tall next to Kate, watching as his father took on the full weight of being king. The children were getting restless now. Louis wiggled in his seat, and Charlotte whispered questions to her mother. George remained still, seeming to understand the importance of the moment. When the ceremony finally ended, the royal family followed King Charles outside. A sea of people waited there, stretching far into the distance. Their cheers were so loud that William could feel the sound in his chest. Camera flashes blinked like stars. "Wave to the people," Kate reminded the children gently. The family walked to their cars. They would now go to Buckingham Palace for the balcony appearance. This was the moment many people had been waiting for, when the new king would stand before his country. In the car, William closed his eyes for a moment. The day was only half over, but he already felt tired down to his bones. Not just tired in his body, but tired in his heart. Royal duties took so much energy, especially on days filled with both joy and pain. "You are doing well," Kate said quietly. "Just a little longer now." William nodded, thankful once again for her strength. The car moved slowly through streets packed with people. Louis had fallen asleep against William's arm, worn out from the long morning. William looked down at his son's peaceful face and felt a rush of love. His children made everything worthwhile. At the palace, staff members hurried around them. Someone took Louis, still sleeping, to a quiet room with a nanny. William and Kate followed King Charles through the grand hallways. Soon they would step onto the famous balcony. "I wish Granny could see this," William said suddenly, thinking of Queen Elizabeth. "She would be proud," Kate replied, "of both you and your father." William swallowed hard against the lump in his throat. There were too many missing people today. His grandmother, his mother, his brother. The holes they left seemed bigger on important days like this. King Charles turned to William before they reached the balcony doors. For a moment, he was not a king but simply a father. He put his hand on William's shoulder and squeezed gently. No words were needed between them. Both men understood duty and loss. Then the doors opened. Bright sunlight hit their faces. The roar of the crowd rose up to meet them. Thousands of people filled the streets below, waving flags and taking pictures. The royal family stepped forward onto the balcony. William stood tall next to his father. Kate brought George and Charlotte to stand in front of them. Charles waved to the people, now officially their king. Military planes flew overhead, painting red, white, and blue across the sky. Cameras zoomed in on their faces. William kept his royal smile in place. But for one brief moment, when he thought no one was looking, his eyes showed his true feelings. A flash of sadness crossed his face as he glanced at the empty space where Harry should have been standing. Kate saw it. She always noticed when his mask slipped. She moved closer to him, their arms touching. Her presence said what words could not. "I am here. You are not alone." The crowd began to sing "God Save the King." William joined in, his voice strong and clear. But inside, his heart sang a different song. A song about family broken and mended, about duties that could not be escaped, about love that remained even when people were gone. As the singing ended, King Charles turned and went back inside. The rest of the family followed. The balcony doors closed behind them, shutting out the noise of the crowd. In the sudden quiet, William felt his shoulders drop slightly. The public part of the day was over. "You did wonderfully," Kate told the children. "Grandpa is very proud of you." William watched his family, these people who were his heart, walking outside his body. Whatever pain he carried, they'd made it bearable. Whatever gaps existed in his family tree, they filled with new life and hope. The days following the coronation were filled with more royal duties. William threw himself into work, as he often did when his feelings became too much to handle. On Tuesday, he visited a children's hospital. On Wednesday, he opened a new community center. On Thursday, he attended 3 different charity events. Kate watched her husband with growing worry. She knew this pattern well. When William was hurting, he would work harder. He would smile more for the cameras. He would be the perfect prince in public. But at night, when they were alone, the mask would slip, and she would see his true tiredness. "You need to rest," she told him on Thursday evening as he looked over papers for yet another event. William glanced up, dark circles under his eyes. "There is too much to do," he said. "Father needs our support now more than ever." Kate sat beside him and gently took the papers from his hands. "You cannot support anyone if you fall ill from exhaustion," she said firmly. "Even princes need sleep." William gave her a small smile. He knew she was right, as she so often was. "Just 1 more hour," he promised. But even as he said it, their private phone rang. It was unusual for anyone to call this late. Kate answered, then handed the phone to William with a concerned look. "It is the hospital," she said quietly. William took the phone, his face growing serious as he listened. When he hung up, he looked troubled. "What is it?" Kate asked. "There is a young boy at the children's hospital," William explained. "He lost his brother last month. He is having a very hard time, and the doctors think a visit might help him. They asked if I could come tomorrow." Kate understood at once. This was not just another royal duty. This was something personal for William. A child dealing with the loss of a brother would touch him deeply right now. "Of course you should go," she said. The next morning, William visited the hospital alone. The cameras were not allowed inside. This was not for show or publicity. It was simply a man trying to help a hurting child. The boy's name was Thomas. He was 8 years old, with dark hair and sad eyes. He sat in a hospital bed, looking small against the white sheets. "Hello, Thomas," William said, sitting in a chair beside the bed. I am William. The boy looked up. I know who you are, he said quietly. You are the prince. William smiled. Yes, but today I am just a visitor. The doctors tell me you have been having a hard time. Thomas looked down at his hands. My brother James died, he said. He got sick, and then he was gone. William felt his heart squeeze. I am very sorry, he said, his voice gentle. That must hurt very much. Thomas nodded. No one understands, he whispered. They all say he is in heaven, and I should be happy. But I am not happy. I am angry. William was quiet for a moment. Then he said, I lost my mother when I was 15. People told me she was in a better place too, but I was still angry. I think it is okay to feel that way. Thomas looked up, surprised. You were angry too? Yes, William admitted, very angry sometimes, and sad, and confused. All those feelings are normal when we lose someone we love. Will it ever stop hurting? Thomas asked. William thought carefully before answering. He did not want to lie to this child. The hurt changes, he said finally. It gets quieter over time. It becomes something you can carry. And you find ways to keep the person you lost still with you, in your heart and your memories. They talked for a long time. William told Thomas about some of his favorite memories of his mother. Thomas shared stories about his brother. They both laughed a little and cried a little too. Before William left, Thomas asked him one more question. Is your family all better now, after what happened to your mom? William paused. He thought about Harry, so far away, about the broken pieces they had not yet been able to fix. We are still working on it, he said honestly. Families are complicated sometimes, but we keep trying because family is worth fighting for. In the car driving back to the palace, William sat quietly, looking out at the rain falling on London. The visit with Thomas had stirred up many feelings. Pain about his mother, worry about his own children, and deep sadness about Harry. When he arrived home, Kate was waiting. One look at his face told her everything she needed to know. She did not ask questions. She simply made him tea and sat with him, giving him space to think and feel. Thank you, William said finally. Kate smiled softly. For what? For understanding, he replied. For always knowing what I need, even when I do not know myself. That night, William slept better than he had since before the coronation. Helping Thomas had helped him too, in ways he had not expected. Some wounds might never fully heal, but they could become bearable. With time, with love, with hope. 2 weeks after the coronation, William was working in his office at home. It was late evening, and most of the palace staff had gone for the day. Kate had taken the children to visit her parents for the weekend. The house felt strangely quiet without their noise and energy. William was reading reports about a new charity project when his private phone buzzed. He picked it up and looked at the screen. His heart skipped a beat when he saw the name that appeared there. Harry. For a long moment, William just stared at the phone. His brother rarely contacted him directly anymore. Most communication went through their staff or lawyers. Their last real conversation had ended with angry words on both sides. William took a deep breath and opened the message. It was short, just a few lines. Harry had seen pictures of the coronation on television. He mentioned how well the children looked, especially George in his formal clothes. He said their father seemed happy in his new role as king. Then, at the end, he wrote simply, I miss you, brother. William put the phone down carefully. His hands were shaking slightly. The words had fallen like stones into the still pond of his evening, sending ripples of emotion in all directions. I miss you too, he whispered to the empty room. William left his office and walked through the quiet house. His feet took him to a small room that few people knew existed. It was a simple space with no royal decorations or fancy furniture, just bookcases, comfortable chairs, and many pictures on the walls. This was William's private place, where he kept the memories that mattered most. Not the official royal portraits that hung in the public rooms, but personal snapshots of real life. Here, he allowed himself to remember not as a prince, but simply as a man. He went to a shelf and picked up an old photo album. Sitting in a chair by the window, he opened it slowly. The first pictures showed two small boys playing in a garden. William and Harry, maybe 5 and 3 years old. They were laughing, covered in mud, looking completely happy. William turned the pages, watching his brother grow up through the photos. There they were riding bikes together, swimming in the sea on family holidays, standing tall at their school in matching uniforms. Each picture held a story, a memory of times when they had been not just brothers but best friends. Then came pictures from their adult years. Harry standing beside William at his wedding to Kate. Harry holding baby George for the first time, looking nervous but proud to be an uncle. The two brothers in military uniforms, side by side at official events. And then the pictures stopped. The last few pages of the album were empty, waiting for memories that had never been made. The distance between them had grown too wide, the hurt too deep on both sides. William closed the album and looked out the window at the dark garden. He thought about Thomas, the boy from the hospital who had lost his brother. He thought about what he had told the child. That families are worth fighting for, even when it is hard. Was he fighting hard enough for his own family? Or had he let pride and hurt feelings get in the way? William picked up his phone again. He read Harry's message one more time. "I miss you, brother." Such simple words, but they opened a door that had seemed firmly closed. With careful thought, William wrote a reply. He did not mention all the painful things that had happened between them. He did not bring up old arguments or past hurts. Instead, he wrote about his children, about how Louis had fallen asleep during the coronation ceremony, making everyone smile, about how Charlotte had been worried about tripping on her dress, about how George was taking his royal duties so seriously these days. At the end, he added, "They ask about their Uncle Harry sometimes. I never know quite what to tell them." He hit send before he could change his mind. Then he put the phone down and waited, his heart beating fast. Would Harry answer? Or would the silence between them continue? 5 minutes passed, then 10. William had almost given up hope when the phone buzzed again. Another message from Harry. This one was longer. It talked about his own life, his own family. It mentioned good memories from their childhood. And it ended with a question. Maybe we could talk sometime. Really talk, not just message. William felt something shift inside his chest. A knot of pain that had been there so long he had almost stopped noticing. It seemed to loosen just a little. "Yes," he wrote back. "I would like that." It was a small step, a tiny bridge across a wide canyon of hurt. But it was something, a beginning, a chance. William put the photo album back on its shelf. As he left the room, he felt lighter somehow. Some wounds might never fully heal. Some broken things might never be perfectly mended. But perhaps they could build something new from the pieces that remained. The following Sunday was unusually sunny for England. When Kate returned with the children, she found William in a lighter mood than she had seen in weeks. He suggested they take the day off from royal duties and go for a family picnic in the countryside. "No staff, no security, just us," he said. "We could drive ourselves to that little place near Windsor." Kate looked surprised but pleased. "What brought this on?" she asked. William hesitated, then told her about the messages from Harry. Not everything, just the basics. That they had talked. That maybe, someday, things might get better between them. Kate hugged him tightly. "That is wonderful," she said softly. Within an hour, they were in the car. William drove while Kate sat beside him with a map. The children were in the back seat, excited about this unexpected adventure. They rarely got to do normal family things without staff watching their every move. "Can we feed the ducks?" Charlotte asked. "Can we climb trees?" George added. "Duck. Tree." Louis shouted, making everyone laugh. William caught Kate's eye and smiled. This was what mattered most. These 4 people who were his heart. Whatever happened with Harry, with the royal duties, with the weight of the crown that would someday be his, this family was his anchor. They found a quiet spot by a small lake. No one was around. The royal family could be just a normal family for a few precious hours. Kate spread out a blanket while William helped the children collect sticks for a pretend campfire. "Did you and Uncle Harry come here when you were little?" George asked as they worked. William looked startled. The children rarely mentioned Harry. "No," he said after a moment. "But we went to other places like this. We loved being outdoors." "Will we ever see Uncle Harry?" Charlotte asked suddenly. William and Kate exchanged a look. They had always been careful about what they told the children about the family problems. They wanted to protect them from adult worries. "I hope so," William said simply. "One day." They ate sandwiches and fruit that Kate had packed. They skipped stones across the lake. William taught George the proper technique, the same way his father had once taught him and Harry. "You need to find flat stones," he explained, "and throw them just right, so they bounce across the water." George tried again and again until he got it right. When his stone skipped 3 times, he jumped up and down with excitement. "I did it. Did you see, Dad? I did it." William hugged his son, feeling a rush of love and pride. "Well done. That was perfect." Kate was sitting on the blanket with Louis on her lap. Charlotte was making a crown of flowers nearby. Kate watched her husband and oldest son by the water, their heads bent together as they looked for more stones. She took out her camera and snapped a picture, wanting to capture this perfect moment. Later, as the afternoon sun began to set, they packed up their things. The children were tired but happy, their cheeks pink from the fresh air. Louis had fallen asleep, and William carried him back to the car. "This was a good day," Kate said as they drove home. William nodded. "The best kind of day." That evening, after the children were in bed, William went to his private room again. He took the photo Kate had taken by the lake and added it to his album. A new memory, a good one. Then he did something he had been thinking about all day. He found an old picture of himself and Harry as children, skipping stones on a different lake many years ago. Their father had taken them there after a difficult week of royal duties. It had been a good day too. William scanned the old photo and attached it to a message for Harry. "Teaching George to skip stones today," he wrote. "Made me think of this. Remember that day." He sent the message, then went to find Kate. She was in their bedroom, reading a book. She looked up as he entered, and her face softened at the sight of him. "You look happy," she said. William sat beside her on the bed. "I am," he replied. "Not completely. There is still so much that hurts, so much that may never be fixed. But today was good, and I think there will be more good days ahead." Kate put her book down and took his hand. "One day at a time," she said. "That is all any of us can do." William's phone buzzed. A new message from Harry. Just 3 words. "I remember it." William showed Kate the message. It was such a small thing, just an acknowledgement of a shared memory, but it felt like the beginning of something. A tiny seed that might, with care and time, grow into something stronger. "One day at a time," William repeated, squeezing Kate's hand. Outside their window, stars appeared in the darkening sky. Life would never be perfect. The crown would always bring its burdens. Family wounds would always leave their scars. But there was also so much light, so much love, so much hope. And for tonight, that was enough. A month after the coronation, the royal family gathered for a garden party at Buckingham Palace. These events happened every summer, bringing together people who had done good things for their communities. Hundreds of guests walked the palace lawns, enjoying tea and cake in the sunshine. William and Kate moved through the crowds, stopping to talk with many people. They had become experts at these events over the years. They knew how to make each person feel special for a few minutes, how to listen with real interest, how to remember names and faces. You two make quite the team, King Charles said when they joined him under a shady tree. He looked better than he had in weeks, more rested and at peace in his new role. We try our best, Kate replied with a smile. A palisade approached with an elderly man using a walking stick. Your Majesty, Your Royal Highnesses, may I present Mr. James Wilson. He served in the same regiment as the late Prince Philip. The old soldier stood as straight as he could and gave a small bow. It is an honor, he said, his voice still strong despite his years. King Charles shook the man's hand warmly. The honor is ours, he said. My father often spoke about his military service with great pride. The old man turned to William. And you, he said. You look so much like your mother. She would be proud of you today. William felt the familiar pang that always came when strangers mentioned Diana. Even after all these years, it could still catch him by surprise. But today, the pain was gentler somehow, more like the soft ache of healing than the sharp stab of fresh grief. Thank you, he said sincerely. That means a great deal. Is your brother here today? The old man asked, looking around. I met both of you when you were just small boys, at a veterans event with your mother. There was an awkward pause. King Charles looked away, suddenly interested in something across the garden. Kate moved slightly closer to William, her presence offering silent support. In the past, William might have given a brief, polite answer and quickly changed the subject. Royal training taught them how to smoothly avoid difficult topics. But today, something different happened. My brother lives in America now, William said simply. But we are in touch. Family is complicated for everyone, isn't it? But it is always worth fighting for. The old soldier nodded wisely. Indeed it is, sir. My own brother, and I did not speak for 10 years after a silly argument. What a waste of precious time that was. Did you find your way back to each other? William asked, genuinely interested. We did, the man smiled. Never too late to mend what is broken. I say, not when it matters. William felt Kate's hand brush against his, a small touch of understanding. When the old soldier moved on to meet other royals, William and Kate walked together toward the rose garden. That was new, Kate said quietly. William knew what she meant. He had spoken about Harry to a stranger, not with anger or pain, but with honesty and even a hint of hope. It felt right, he replied, like something has changed. In the weeks since their exchange of messages, William and Harry had been writing to each other more regularly. Nothing deep yet, no big discussions about the past, just small shares from their daily lives. Pictures of their children, memories from better times. It was a beginning, fragile but real. William stopped to look at a particularly beautiful rose bush. Mother would have loved these, he said. She always said the gardens were her favorite part of palace life. Kate smiled, pleased to hear him speak of Diana this way. For so long, her memory had been too painful for casual mentions. She had good taste, Kate said. These gardens are magical. They continued their royal duties, speaking with more guests, posing for photographs, representing the monarchy as they had been trained to do since childhood. But something was different now. William stood taller, smiled more naturally. The weight he carried seemed lighter somehow. As the afternoon ended and guests began to leave, William and Kate found a quiet moment alone by a small pond. Palace staff kept a respectful distance, giving them a rare bubble of privacy. I was thinking, William said, watching a family of ducks glide across the water. Maybe we could invite Harry to bring his family for Christmas this year. Not for the big public events, just for some private time at our house, so the cousins could play together. Kate's eyes widened slightly. This was a big step. The royal Christmas celebrations were steeped in tradition and had been a source of tension in recent years. Are you sure? She asked. William nodded slowly. Not sure it will work. Not sure he would even want to come. But I think we should try. Kate reached for his hand. Then we will try, she said firmly. A palisade approached, reminding them of their next engagement. The royal machinery never stopped for long. There were always more duties, more responsibilities, more people waiting. The path ahead of them would never be easy. The crown would always bring its burdens. But as they walked back across the sunny garden, William felt something he had not experienced in a long time. Not happiness exactly, but peace. The kind of peace that comes from accepting what cannot be changed and working to heal what can be. The silent sorrow he had carried through his father's coronation would never completely disappear. The empty spaces left by those who should have been there would always exist. But alongside the sorrow, there was now hope. Alongside the empty spaces, there were new possibilities. "Ready?" Kate asked as they prepared to meet the next group of guests. William squeezed her hand. "Ready," he replied. And he meant it, not just for this moment, but for whatever came next. Together, they would face it all. The tears beneath the crown, the joy behind the duty, and everything in between.